strikes, it looks like a modern crisis, but their origins trace back exactly 70 years. In the 1950s, Iran controlled some of the largest oil reserves on the planet, but the wealth didn't stay in the country. A British corporation managed the extraction, taking most of the profits while Iranians provided the labor. In 1951, Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, ended that arrangement. He nationalized the oil industry, directing profits to finally serve the Iranian people. The British government viewed this policy as a completely devastating financial loss. Meanwhile, the United States feared an isolated Mossadegh would be forced to seek support from the Soviet Union to keep his economy afloat. This eventually led U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower to authorize a covert solution. The CIA and Britain's MI6 launched a joint mission to remove him, known as Operation Ajax. Intelligence agencies destabilized the country and overthrew Mossadegh. In his place, the U.S. installed an autocrat friendly to Western interests, the Shah of Iran. The Iranian public viewed this as a direct violation of sovereignty. The anti-American sentiment we see today grew from this specific moment of foreign interference. By securing short-term oil access in 1953, Western intelligence agencies created the grievances that would eventually turn Iran into a permanent adversary. The need for influence over that oil increased in 1971. President Richard Nixon ended the U.S. dollar's link to gold, meaning the world's reserve currency needed a new commodity to give it value. The solution was the petrodollar deal. The U.S. protected Saudi Arabia, and in return, the Saudis sold their oil exclusively in U.S. dollars. This linked the dollar to every barrel sold, making Middle Eastern stability a requirement for U.S. economic security. To maintain their allies' power, the U.S. heavily equipped the region. Ironically, through the Atoms for Peace program, America provided the Shah's regime with its first nuclear technology and research facilities. However, the internal pressure in Iran was reaching a breaking point. In 1979, the Iranian people launched a revolution that successfully overthrew the Shah. Protesters eventually stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, seizing American diplomats. The United States had lost its most critical military partner in the Middle East. Ayatollah Khomeini established an Islamic republic that rejected American influence. He viewed the U.S. presence as an obstacle to the region's independence. In response, the U.S. backed neighboring Iraq, providing funding and intelligence to Saddam Hussein as he launched a massive invasion of Iran. During the 8-year war, Iraq used chemical weapons against Iranian troops and civilians. Iran appealed to the world for help, but the U.S. and the UN remained silent. This taught the Iranian leadership that they could rely on no one for their defense. Iran shifted its strategy to asymmetric warfare. They built a network of regional proxies and restarted the nuclear program originally provided by the U.S. to serve as a long-term deterrent. Decades of isolation forced Iran to develop its own arms industry and a military doctrine focused on surviving a conflict with a superpower. Diplomacy briefly paused the tension in 2015. Under President Barack Obama, the JCPOA deal saw Iran limit nuclear activity in exchange for an end to economic sanctions. That agreement collapsed in 2018 when Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the deal, restarting the cycle of sanctions and military threats. This triggered a shadow war of sabotage and cyber attacks, including the Stuxnet virus designed to destroy Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Iran responded by increasing its uranium enrichment to 60%. They also moved their facilities deep inside the mountains, behind layers of rock that standard bunker buster bombs cannot penetrate. Iran's primary strategic asset is its physical presence along the Strait of Hormuz. This 33-kilometer-wide gap handles 20% of the world's oil. Iran's thousands of inexpensive drones can disrupt this traffic anytime. If oil stops, global demand for U.S. dollars plummets. This allows Iran to pressure the American economy far more effectively than a conventional military strike. The current tension follows a thread that traces back to the 1953 coup. Today's standoff is the latest chapter in a 70-year cycle of intervention and response that continues to keep both nations on the brink of conflict.